Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and talk a little bit about the core network. Those of you who were here already yesterday have probably listened to Thomas Hüvener, who spoke about that. So maybe we can take it on from there. Maybe like a few disclaimers on where we are. So first, I mean, we are still in the parliamentary process. So the financing conditions are still being discussed in the parliament. So there might be changes. This is the first disclaimer, which is quite important. And second, of course, the application process with the Federal Network Agency, so the regulator, is still going on. The application is still being considered. And third, just, I mean, to few words on the process, because now, of course, I'm talking about the content and the questions we have to decide. Of course, is because this is so new. I mean, here there was talk about the hydrogen economy. I always like to talk about a pillar. I mean, it's not only the hydrogen economy. The hydrogen pillar is a very important pillar of this transformative economy, this transformation economy. But because it's new, and we all don't know how it's going to look like. This was a very collaborative process together with our TSOs. We really decided to actually lay out and work out the conditions for this core network. And of course, there was a decision. There was a decision we took and the politicians took together in Germany. And this is different, of course, from other countries. The decision was, yes, we need to have infrastructure in place. And we know that there is this hen and chicken problem, because everybody tells us we cannot take FIDs, and there was, yesterday I believe there was of course discussions on what conditions are necessary for FIDs. And therefore, operators, companies always tell us we need 3 conditions for the hydrogen economy to start, for FIDs to be taken. And this is first, and it was mentioned on the first panel today as well, of course we need regulatory certainty. And here I believe we can say we have actually advanced a lot last year. RED III is basically finished. We have the conditions, the European framework conditions are there. Now we need to implement it. Yes, it's still some work to do, but now we know the quotas, we know the requirements. Second, of course, we need support schemes in order for this transition to happen, in order to help companies actually to transition to the hydrogen economy. And there, of course, we have H2 Global. Just this week, we actually announced the support schemes for carbon contracts for difference. And of course, there's a lot more. And third, of course, companies tell us, listen, guys, listen, politics, we need the infrastructure to be in place. And therefore, we decided to include in our law, in the law governing actually hydrogen and gas, we decided to include framework conditions for this core network. And that is, of course, entry points. It is big industrial centers. It's where electrolyzers are. And, of course, very important, like the locations where probably the necessary H2-ready power plants will be located. You know, there was a lot of discussion about the famous Kraftwerkstrategie, the English word is a bit strange, the power generation strategy. Now we have started with this 4 times 2.5 gigawatt capacity. And based on those criteria, which are, the TSOs sometimes say it's political. It's not purely political. Of course, there's a lot of, it makes some sense, so we actually decided what is necessary, but of course, they are also political, because we said yes, in order to actually not have this discussion about the chicken and the egg question anymore, we're going to go on, and we're going to go on with this core network criteria. And you can see that it's not final, as I said, of course. It's quite massive, 9,700 kilometers. That's a lot, and if you look at it, it more or less is it links all the important industrial centers, the entry points where the hydrogen is going to come in. And that will be mainly pipeline hydrogen, not exclusively, but mainly pipeline hydrogen. We are actually in a very intense process with our partners, Norway, Denmark, the southern countries, France, Weimar, for these corridors to actually take shape. And there, actually, now this might fuel the discussion because we talked a lot about green, and of course it's no surprise and no secret that of course, green is where we want to end up. But for the transition, we will need also blue hydrogen, especially from Norway. Otherwise, it will be difficult. So 9,700 kilometers is a lot. And what is a lot as well, if you look at it, the exit capacity, 87 gigawatts capacity, and approximately 280 terawatts of volume produced. That is really, it's a lot. And if you compare it to our forecast scenarios, you know, of course, it's a forecast, but we believe we will, in 2030, we will need between 90 and 130 terawatt hours. So this is much more. Why is it much more? Because we, of course, need to be flexible, and we need to, of course, have in all corners of Germany, especially where those H2-ready power plants will be located, we need to have sufficient volume, and of course, it needs to be future-proof. That is quite important. Of course, we are repurposing a lot of the pipelines. About 60% will be repurposed. That is, of course, very important because it makes this cheaper as well. Here you can see how it will be how it will develop. Now from a very let's say, modest start, of course, because we just start based on the IPCI project, so a 1,700 kilometer IPCI network. We will gradually roll it out to this full-scale network. And that is, of course, something we are doing now. The planning has started. And in order to speed up this planning as well, we are in the process, or basically in the almost at the end of the process of drafting something we call a hydrogen acceleration law in order to speed up the planning. That is actually something we learned from the LNG business, from the FSRU sites I'm responsible for as well. And there we actually had the LNG acceleration law, the LNG Beschleunigungsgesetz, and we are taking those experiences, Deutschlandgeschwindigkeit, as well to actually transfer it to hydrogen. Very much debated, and I don't know how German you are. The German people who are specializing in that will probably know about that. The financing model is very complicated. It has taken us 9 months of really intense work based on what is called the amortization account concept by DENA, the German Energy Agency, which is basically an institution which supports us. The idea of this amortization account is actually to make the hydrogen ramp up possible without actually creating prohibitively high tariffs at the beginning. So basically, the idea is that it's a privately financed scheme. Levies are being levied on the consumers, but basically we do it. There should be. Oh no, I thought there would be another slide. So basically, it's the average price, because in the beginning, of course, there will be few users, and there will be. And if you would actually just take the average price, it would be prohibitively high. So we take the average price, and since at the end, we believe, according to our models, there will be more users. At the end, it will be a zero game. So at the beginning of this amortization account, there will be a negative amount, and at the end, it will be positive. And at the end of the day, there will be plus minus a zero game. But of course, since you all know, the hydrogen economy is something of this pillar of the transformation economy. It's already reality. Companies are already actually working on it. For many of you, this will be the daily business. but still, of course, if it's going to be successful, we don't know. So basically, there's a state guarantee imposed on it at the end. Therefore, we basically say if the hydrogen ramp up is not going to be successful, then the state actually covers it. And that is fair enough because we believe, of course, the state has a role to play because we are actually setting out the framework conditions, but within, and this is very important, a privately financed model. What is quite helpful because, as you all know, at least in Germany, the budget situation of the federal budget has not improved, and so it's quite helpful that we have this privately financed model. I don't want to go too much into the detail. If there's interest, we can discuss it later. But what is important that the ramp-up fee, so the levy imposed, it's not strict, it's not static, it can vary. The Federal Network Agency, the regulator, will actually set it up to a price. When it's become too high, when there's and it will endanger, when it would jeopardize the market ramp-up, then actually we cap it. And then there's public money actually coming in to help to support that. And very much debated as well within the process now is that we say it is, of course, the state covers the vast majority of it, but the TSOs will have to bear a share in case of failure of this ramp up. That's an economic rule because otherwise there would be a free lunch, and if there would be not some own responsibility and some own financial responsibility, and the exact layout is something which is very very much debated. So basically up now we have said it's 24% of the remaining balance, so the remaining amortization account deficit if this were to happen. This was the core network. So the idea of the core network, so basically the framework conditions for it and the financing of it. What is very important, and this is sometimes forgotten in the discussion, is that of course this will not be the end of history. There will be a second phase which is integrated gas hydrogen planning, and that is something most of you are familiar with. Now we have like demand-driven planning for gas, and we are actually extending that to the gas and hydrogen planning stage. This is something which is in the parliament as well, which is being debated. So there might be differences, but it was very important for us, and we actually managed to actually make sure that this is possible according to the gas and hydrogen package, the European gas and hydrogen package. There can be an integrated approach, and therefore we have the possibility to be flexible. If we find out that this core network is too big, what we don't believe, but you don't know, then we can scale it down. If there will be additional demand, it will be scaled up. So this is really important because it's sometimes forgotten. The difference, of course, is that the financing logic will be different. It will be then the normal user pays it logic and not the amortization account logic. But therefore, it should be possible because then the hydrogen economy has already more materialized. To sum up, this core network financing, framework conditions, second phase, the integrated planning process. What else is important? I already talked about hydrogen acceleration law. We're gonna put it into the ministerial consultation very soon. Of course, what we did last year, we had the parallel European process, the gas to hydrogen package process, where we actually made sure that we can have this uniform tariff, that actually the unbundling provisions are bearable, kind of, especially for our Stadtwerke, for our communal energy companies, and of course we also had in mind the distributional level. Of course, here we start with the big national network, but we also have made sure that the Verteilnetze So the local level is being considered in the process. Of course, it will not be part of the core network, but the core network will have to be build on it and have to make sure that, of course, the distribution network is considered, because, of course, it's a very important part of this. So basically, we hope with this core network, with the security we are setting there, we are now have presented something, if it is going to be passed by Parliament, that we really have something which is very important. We have the infrastructure ready for FIDs to be taken, for you actually to have this regulatory certainty that was called upon in the first panel. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your questions.
Thanks a lot, Philipp. We have 5 minutes time, and we have the first questions here, which we will soon see also here on the screen. The first one with the most likes is: who will be responsible for the connection of greater than 16 gigawatt CHP capacity and CHP offtake? This core grid is based on CHP offtake, but these CHPs are located in urban areas and thus not close to the FNB grid. Any solution in mind?
Well, not sure if I really got it that. I mean, this is what I talked about at the end, of course. I mean, now the core network is, of course, the big national network, and of course it needs to be connected. This is the same thing we need to we know from the gas sector, but of course it's totally decentralized in Germany with 880 and something local electricity or energy companies. So basically, of course, this is something we there will need to be a connection, and we have to have communication. We have made sure that in the NVG, in the relevant law, but it's a different. It's a different responsibility. What we are doing, of course, is I'm going to start a consultation process very soon. Ein neuer Ordnungsrahmen, so new regulatory framework conditions for the distributional network.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Maybe next time we should do an Ask Me Anything question, because we really have a lot of them. Why is it more attractive from a financial perspective to invest in natural gas and electricity infrastructure than hydrogen? Will that not hamper the core grid development?
Well, this is in a way, it's suggesting, this is an interesting question. Why is it more attractive to invest in natural gas and electricity than hydrogen? Well, I would say this is not true. I mean, this is an affirmation, of course, which is very much debated right now. I mean, if you want to go on to only invest in natural gas, happy to do so. I mean, you know that we have very strict climate targets. You know that there is not only the emission trading system 1, but we will have an emission trading 2. That the national CO2 trading scheme will be scaled up very quickly, and we have RED 3. As you know, with the 43 and 60%. So happy if you want to go on only to finance in gas, I wouldn't do it. Electricity, of course, we have, of course, modeled our 6.69% equity interest on the rates from the electricity system. But of course, it's a different system, and frankly, I mean, I believe if especially those TSOs, Hübner and Co., if they don't take part in the hydrogen economy and the network, I think they will have a problem. So therefore, we believe it's very attractive. We have actually presented a very attractive state-backed scheme, which is actually quite unique, if I may say so, at least for a country which is so decentralized. And therefore, we believe it's very attractive, and there is some financial engineering you can do in order to actually increase the interest to almost double digit. If you want to need more, I can explain this later on.
Next question. How can you make sure that the political framework, difficult question, framework remains stable even with different governments in charge in the future?
It's very funny, because you always know what this is actually intending to. There is this debate about a contract, if you should have a contract, like a public contract. There's this concept of öffentlich-rechtlicher Vertrag in Germany. that we have done that sometimes for example, when we actually had this compromise with the nuclear power companies, actually how to actually how to settle it. Then we did that. Here, we believe, of course, we have framework conditions. There is quite a lot of stability in Germany, and we need, and this is important. I mean, you know, this or the financial framework I talked about, it will last till 2055. This is a long time, and I mean, we have taken a lot of, we have put in a lot of care and consulted with. We have tons of experts. There were consultations. We have done that with the TSOs. But of course, if things change, then the framework conditions will be adapted and changed. Personally, I think we cannot afford to fail in the ramp up of the hydrogen economy. So then but if we have this contract, that would be a total problem. And then of course the TSO, I mean, I'm sure there are some of you here, they like to go to court. And if we do this, we would be in court all the time. And actually, I would like to rather concentrate on the hydrogen ramp up than to go to court and to the BGH in Karlsruhe.
Dr. Philipp Steinberg,